call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen for Wednesday, March 6, 2013. Greg Coyne, a member of the Board of Selectmen, can't be here tonight because he has a prior engagement. The first item on our agenda is Dr. Stella, but he also has a prior engagement, so he can't be here tonight. So we get to the second item on our agenda, a report from the Southern Connecticut Gas Company, Ray Residential Connections, and John DeVovos is here. So John, welcome again.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back.
Right,
is it okay if I sit here? Is that
definitely
the protocol here?
Chair of honor there, and
okay.
We can report, I think, that pretty much all of our facilities in Woodbridge are hooked up to gas.
Yes, I think it's about a year now that I came before this body to talk about extending our natural gas facilities within the town, and I'm happy to report that we did extend over 13,000 feet of main in the town of Woodbridge, with the anchor customers of Amity High School, the town facilities, Beecher School, and a couple of your houses of worship along the way. We also had the opportunity to pass by 80 homes when along the routes that we took, and about a little less than 35 of those folks have taken advantage of natural gas and either have received service or will receive service when our construction season opens up again. As we spoke last time when I came before you, is that those extensions were done at no cost to the town of Woodbridge or any to those residents along the way because of the loads that were associated with Amity High School and all the town facilities. And those are large, what we would call anchor customers. And the anchor customers have a substantial load, and especially Amity High School has a substantial load. And your town facilities have all, and there's some future loads. As you build some new buildings here, we'll be talking about some future loads too. That kind of brings us to where we stand now. There's been quite a bit of interest from folks within the town to further extend our mains into residential areas. And under our current business guidelines that we operate under today, we do that without charge when there's anticipated revenue to offset the construction costs. And right now we use a model that we put the construction costs and we put the expected revenues through, and it's a 20-year model that we look at getting those costs back. And if the rate of return is not sufficient within that 20 years, then there would be a contribution that would be asked for each of the customers to contribute towards the construction. And that would bring it back to an acceptable level. When I met with Mr. Sheehy and a few, Mr. Genovese and Mr. Hillauer and Ms. Jacobs a while back, I hoped that we would have some new models by now to be able to run these things under. In the media, and we even had a nice event here in the town of Woodbridge with the governor. The governor has announced comprehensive energy strategy for Connecticut. It was draft form. It was 30 days for comment period, and now it's in final form. And there wasn't too many changes from the draft to the final. And that plan, what Governor Malloy's plan says is that it would like to make choice available to additional folks within Connecticut for natural gas. And it breaks the potential customers in the state down into three categories. Category A, which would be people that are right on our mains now. So of those 80 that we had along the way, we have 35. The rest of the people would be now considered along the main. So those people could pretty much get gas at no contribution to themselves, and that's about 216,000 within the state of Connecticut. Segment B customers that they talk about are people within short distance of the main, which would be probably like 150 feet of the main. And there's ways that hopefully the business rules will change to get to those people. And then there's segment C customers that is about 667,000 customers in the state, or residences in the state, that will not economically feasible right now to be able to get natural gas because of the proximity or the distance that they are to the main. One of the things that we look at very closely is the length of the main that we have to run, the length of the service from the main to the houses, and the density between the houses. And those people that have longer main extensions and longer services and bigger density, more difficult to pass the current model. We took a look after our last meeting with the leaders here in town at about 100 homes, 120 homes from the Rimmon, on the Rimmon Road area, headed from where we are now up towards Racebrook in like a circle. And if we got 100% of those homes, that people would still have to contribute probably somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 for each hookup along the way. That it would still require a contribution on the part of those folks. The construction costs were higher than the revenues, and when you take a look at that, you say, if we didn't get 100% of the homes, and under our current regulatory model right now, they have to say they're going to do it, and they're going to do it within 6 months of the gas being available. The chance of getting all 100 of those people because of the different circumstances that they have would be very difficult. For the first 80 that are available, so we've got like 32 of those folks already. So we'll get the rest of those over time, but the way our current model works now is that we have to have everybody signed up and then collect 2,500. So if out of 100 we get 50 and we thought we had to collect 3,500, now we got to collect 7,000 from everybody. And that iterative process, we've tried to replicate that in other places. It's very difficult to do. So that takes us to the comprehensive energy strategy. Are there tools in there that will change things that can make gas more available to, just say, that small part of Woodbridge that we took a look at? And one of the things that we have to try to do is manage customer expectations. And I think we've had some inquiries from people along those areas, and I don't think that we've fully managed their expectations correctly. We've now worked with Mr. Hellauer, and we have one person assigned. If he ever gets any calls now, that it's going to go to one person within our company so that everybody will be getting the same story going forward. But some of the things in the comprehensive energy strategy, that 20-year model, there's a recommendation to move it to 25 years so that it would make it less conservative for things that you could do. There's also a recommendation in there that we would be extending the payback periods by changing our rates, where for a certain number of years that people could pay the contribution that they would have to pay by paying a little bit higher rate, taking some of the savings that they would get from switching from propane or fuel oil to natural gas and paying a little bit higher rate going forward. There's also talk of being able to finance these things on their bill directly at a very low or no interest rate, so that if it costs $7,000 to do the conversion and we had to charge somebody $2,500, they could finance that $10,000 on their gas bill with the shared savings, a shared savings rate that they would get from the savings that they would get from fuel oil to natural gas. And there's also there's actually a separate bill out there that talks about a $500 credit, a tax credit for people that would convert from oil to natural gas. The last 4 or 5 things that I talked about are they're in the plan, but they're not tools that we have available to us yet. Some of them require legislative action. I heard folks here talking about legislative action, so we know the legislature's in session right now, and they're dealing with some of this stuff, and there's a public hearing on some of it tomorrow, actually. Some of it requires regulatory change, which would be at the Public Utilities Regulatory Agency. We would expect that the better part of 2013 that those issues would be continued to worked on by the state of Connecticut, and that hopefully sometimes towards the end of 2013 that we would know exactly what tools that we had to be able to retake a look at some of these residential neighborhoods and talk about further extensions here in the town of Woodbridge. So that's kind of the prepared remarks that I had, Mr. Sheehy, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
So just to follow up up on that. In terms of these expenses of, that you mentioned, there are additional expenses of conversion of the, whatever equipment you have to natural gas. Is that
That's
right? So
correct.
that's an additional expense.
Yeah, I mean, we would see that in, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 is usually the cost that people have to invest in their homes to be able to switch their HVAC equipment from another fuel to natural gas. There are options where somebody might have a new oil furnace or a propane furnace where they can convert it at a lower cost, but you still see those costs coming in somewhere. If they need a chimney liner and have an oil tank removed, we're still talking in the $3,000 to $4,000 range there also. So it's an investment in folks' homes, but at the same time, it's with the approximately $2 savings on the gallon of oil, depending upon the number of gallons of oil, that some people could have a payback period of between 3 and 4 years, similar to the payback period that we've seen with the investments that you folks have made in your municipal buildings here in town.
Any members of the board have any questions or
I just
comments?
have a question.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. You said 35% of the people on the main have.
35 out of 80, so that's less than
35 out of
35%.
80. No,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And have the remainder, have they said absolutely not, or is it just one of these things, call me next year? Do you have
Yeah,
any sense
no,
of
I
that?
think the response that we got was very positive from all these folks. You get people, I'm going to move, so I'm not going to invest in my house. I got my kid in college. He's done 2 more years, and I'll do it.
Right.
My furnace is pretty new. I want to wait, and when I have to replace my furnace. So the experience that we've had in other jurisdictions
That was
is
gonna
that
be my next question.
eventually
Yeah.
you build it and they will come, as a famous movie said. We will get them over time. And one of the things that this strategy talks about too is that the current model that we operate under in the state of Connecticut is that we have to have signatures from people before we start the construction, and we have to have firm commitments they'll do it within 6 months. What we've asked for and what we've worked with Pura and with the governor's office is to say, okay, let's do some projections. In the first year, we'll get 40%. The next year, we're going to get 10, and the next year, we're going to get 10 and 20, and then after the end of 5 years, we'll project we're going to get 85% of these. And let us put that in the revenue stream over 5 years that we're going to get them. So that's a one thing that we hopefully, so we don't have to say everybody has to make that commitment today, or we can't do the job.
And the second question is, I guess I shouldn't hold my breath, right? That's what it sounds like to me.
I would think that's a good characterization.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the clarity.
And that's the way we talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you'd like, I could share those privately with you, some of those numbers that we worked up and how we did it. And you and I could probably spend some time
Okay, that'd be
before
fine.
one of these meetings or something in the future. We
Thank you.
can go over that. I thought that between the last meeting and now, that when the final plan came out, we'd have some tools. So I'd say, this is what it used to be, now what it is, but we don't have that yet. So we have to show you what it is under the current regulatory.
Well, actually, one other question. I mean, do you think there's political will to make the kind of changes up in Hartford right now that you're talking about?
That's purely speculation on my part. I think there's a political will on behalf of the governor to make this plan a reality. When he came here and did a talk at Woodbridge, and he's done a couple of those road shows, and I've been in a few of them, he's very committed to it. The financial situation in the state of Connecticut is another story. You folks know what it is as well as I do.
Right.
Any tax credits or any dollars that would come from
Right.
public money, I think become more difficult in this environment.
Thank you.
Lawrence?
Yeah, just a quick question to be sure I understand it. If I heard you correctly, your work in 2012, you installed about 13,000 linear feet of.
That's correct.
Okay, so my presumption is that you were following this plan, and so that represents an investment by Southern Connecticut Gas of something over $2 million.
Yeah, above 1.5. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge your investment, I guess, and then your expectation with the volume from the municipal accounts and the schools and the church. Anyway,
That's correct.
Over 20 years, you're going to make that back.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So would it be fair to say then that after the legislature meets in June, we'll know what they've passed or haven't passed? And then the Southern Connecticut Gas Company will evaluate what additional tools, if any, have been given
Right.
to you.
And that may be a good time for me to come back and address you folks
Right,
again.
that's what I was leading up to, yeah.
If you would have me again,
Yeah.
I could do that. You have a very robust multimedia, so the folks in town can hear it too, and
Right.
people at home get to hear it, and this way they have the right message and they hear it from the company. I'd be happy to do that, and
That'd
I
be
will. I'm in contact with Mr. Hallauer a lot on other issues, and I'll be happy to keep him in the loop and let him move me forward if we need to do that.
Good, okay.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
look
you very
forward
much.
to doing it.
And
Thank you very
for your
much.
business. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, okay.
Thank you, John.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a report from Billy Casper Golf. And tonight we have with us Joe Goodrich, who's the Executive Vice President of Billy Casper, and who was here just about a year ago making a presentation for Billy Casper. And Ryan Phelps is here as well, and Jason Beffrey, and Dee Hotchkiss.
Check your email today.
We're getting close. The next one's going to be we're open. Just some sample collateral, guys. Just
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
When they get finished, yeah, that's good. Okay, so Joe, the floor is yours. Welcome again to Woodbridge.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. I would like to, hopefully we don't get too much bad weather over the next couple of days, but I came up from Northern Virginia and called home this afternoon to find out the federal government was closed down and my kids are home from school, and so there's not a better place I'd rather be.
I didn't have to wait till tonight.
We've prepared a brief slideshow, brief presentation for you, just to give you a little bit of overview of 2013. Matt Fauerbach, our Regional Director of Agronomy, has agreed to help us out here.
Anything to get closer to the dessert.
As I go through this, if you have questions or things, please feel free to ask. I just want to give you a few things. State of the golf industry. Over the last couple months, Billy Casper Golf's been involved in several industry initiatives. So we meet as multi-course operators. We compare notes, National Golf Foundation, National Golf Course Owners Association, and we also meet both PGA show. So we've compared notes, and some of the things I want to report to you in 2012, rounds played. There's some good news here. In the states in red, those states in 2012 saw a increase in rounds by either 2% or higher. As you can see, there's only 2 states which actually recorded lower rounds of golf from 2011 to 2012. The trend nationally, on an average, is about 6.1%. Fantastic. A lot of that growth was because of the warm weather. Probably about 3 to 4% of that growth was because of the strong Q1 of weather that we had in 2012. So I wanted to give you that. So my feedback is the industry feels really good about 2012. If you want to look a little bit more specifics, this is rounds of golf volume in total from 2005 through 2012. As you can see, 2005, 2006, 2007, rounds of golf were fairly stagnant. So if you can think back to those times, the economy was doing very well. However, what the perplexing thing for us as an industry was rounds of golf are still flat, even though the economy is doing really well. In 2008, everyone understands what happened in 2008 with the economic collapse, and obviously golf was affected as well. And the end of 2011 was really the trough or the low point, where the change from, call it 500 million rounds of golf down to 460. That decrease is significant. However, in 2012, that number's back up to where we were in 2008, almost right before the big slide, call it that. I'll say this, just characterization. The industry's excited about this growth. Obviously, the economy is starting to pick up. We're feeling good about it. So I don't think we're going to see, increase of 6%. Obviously, we're up because of the downturn from 10 to 11. But this puts it into perspective in terms of where we are on an annual basis or aggregate basis. And everyone's feeling out very early in the season, so to speak. In some cases, the season hasn't started, but everyone's feeling, I'll say, fairly bullish on 2013. Matt? So I wanted to talk to you about moving forward into the 2013 season and getting rid of the unknown. So when we were here last year, there was many things that we didn't know, especially in the first quarter. For example, we put together this utilization analysis. So this is the rounds of golf that were played at the golf course in the month of July. And what this tells you is the column down on the left side is the number of days in advance those rounds of golf are reserved. And over on the far right, and I'm sorry, I thought you'd be able to see this better. But what we found is that about 43% of the rounds were actually booked the day of. 16% of those rounds were booked 1 day in advance, and about 9.4% of those rounds were booked 2 days in advance. That's good to know. We didn't know that a year ago. We didn't know this back in June of what was going to happen. We also, down at the bottom, in terms of the utilization, we actually can now look at utilization of the golf course by time. So when I was here a year ago, or more than that, and was promising you the tools that we'd use, I probably showed you similar graphs, but it was of other golf courses. Well, this is your golf course, and it's slightly different than others that we've looked at, which is good. So now what we're doing is our marketing plan and our marketing program is all directed at those golfers, those time periods, based on the utilization of the things that we saw. So the unknown is becoming much more known. And as we go through the 2013 season, we're going to become even better educated, and our marketing efforts and programming will be even more targeted. Here's another graph. This is your data. This is the rounds of golf that was played in 2012. And I know there's a lot of information up there, but if you look at the first row in the box there, it talks about number of customers. And then each of those segments of bar charts, so the first two charts or first two bars there, those are the golfers that played one round of golf. So we had 2,522 golfers that actually played one round of golf. And that leads into 2,522 rounds. We track the APR, the rounds per customer, and the percentage of those rounds, obviously. So when you go into the golfers that played between 2 and 5 rounds, we had 1,357 of those, and those accounted for about 3,700 rounds, and so on. So 6 to 15, 16 to 40, 41 to 80, and plus 80. We did have 12 people that played over 80 rounds of golf, accounting for almost 1,200 rounds. As you can see, it's important. We didn't know any of this as we went into the 2012 season. Now that we know this, we can send very targeted messages to the golfers that only played us one time, and to try to get just one more round of golf out of them. Or the golfers that played between 2 and 5, we're trying to encourage them and get them to move more into the 6 to 15. So the marketing efforts and the marketing program will be very targeted. I will tell you, I know that there's a lot of data up there, but I will tell you that we feel really good about the information that we now know and removing some of that unknown. Any questions on these last two? Are they pretty self-explanatory?
When you talk about rounds, it's 18 holes.
Rounds of golf as an industry, when we talk about rounds, we actually refer to them as starts. So the industry, probably about 3 years ago, we got together because there were some people that were looking at 9 and 18, and some people were, it's a mess. We basically agreed as an industry that a round of golf is a start. So if you played 9 holes or you went to twilight and played 6 holes, remember, we counted it as a start. And we break that in, we understand by time segment. If they're playing later in the day, they may only be playing that. Here's a geo-analysis. So we also know where those golfers are coming from. So you can see, obviously, the towns we have golfer data on, how many contacts that we have in each of those, how many rounds of golf those represent, and what percentage. So as we're making decisions about where to spend marketing dollars, where to spend advertising dollars or promotions, that's our focus. Again, removing some of that unknown. I'm going to move into 2013, and I'll just move fairly quickly here, but suffice it to say that we're taking that information and that science of information that we know, and now all of our materials and all of our communication is going to be targeted at those groups. So you'll see bi-weekly emails, which are going to be segmented by those different customer groups. Obviously, increased member communication, and all leading to more targeted marketing programs. We'll continue to do golfer acquisition. We've talked, and I know you've been briefed on the loyalty card programs, both the Advantage and the Resident. We'll continue to send automated emails to first-time golfers. Obviously, we'll be exhibiting at Connecticut Golf Show. Golf Now, the people that utilize Golf Now or come to us from Golf Now, they'll be in our database, and we'll go to attract them to book directly through us as opposed through Golf Now. Targeted emails to lapsed golfers. So the golfers that we saw last year, if we haven't seen them by May 15th, June 1st, we're going to be sending them an offer saying, what happened to you? Why aren't you coming back out? And obviously we'll have some other new golfer promotional programs such as Get Golf Ready to get more people involved in golf and to try golf. So we have a very easy way for people to get involved in golf. So you see some of your materials there. Are you ready for fun? Providing lessons for $99 and easy access into the game of golf, where they'll follow a pretty programmed approach to getting into golf. Obviously on the community side, there'll be monthly activities. We're having open house April 6th. Ryan assured me it's not going to rain that day. Obviously support of the high school events, local athletics, Rotary, and also town fundraising. Some things you'll see in the spring, focused primarily on membership. Obviously, going into 2013, I feel really secure in the fact that we've got, we're ready to go as we go into 2013. So, trial membership referral programs. We target our top golfers. So the golfers that played us more than 15, 20 times, we're targeting those golfers for membership because now we know who they are. New home buyer program, which we're attacking, also welcome wagon. Obviously on the outing side is important. Last year, obviously, the lack of outings due to the transition. This year, as we're moving into outing season, we feel good. We've probably got 5 to 6 outings that are 100 players or more. They're in the contract stage. And Jason has probably between 40 and 60 that you've got in terms of prospects that are active, working through either picking dates or working through their needs, which is compared to where we were last year is that's really solid. We're really happy about that. You'll see some other spring programming, kick off the golf week, which we're going to run, Players Club, April promotions, 2 for Tuesdays. All that will be backed up, some of the materials that you have in front of you, some of the collaterals that go along with that. ACE, the guest experience, we've just revitalized our training programs. So we've basically reshot the video for all of our training programs. We've included safety, we've included food and beverage, and we're relaunching that. We'll actually have a regional meeting the week of March 18th, which all the staff will get trained up on, train the trainer. Obviously that will be backed up with our mystery shops, and we're really proud of that. We'll be happy to show you that once in about another couple weeks. If you want to see that or sit in on any of those, you're more than welcome to. We think that the service training that we provide is best in the industry, bar none. From an agronomy and capital standpoint, before we get into this, here's some things I wanted to mention. I think that the golf course is very well positioned. As we sit here today, we're very excited about 2013. All the equipment, that we were going through at this time of year is all in place. It's in solid condition. Golf carts, they're in the barn, they're working, they're ready to go. The golf course was actually put to bed very well last fall. So we know what we're going to get this coming spring as opposed to not knowing. The irrigation system, through 2012, we've gone through the irrigation system. Leaks have been fixed. All those types of things. We understand where all the heads are. We've worked out a ton of, I'll call it bugs in the system, that as we go into 2013, we're not going to be spending a lot of that time and energy that we were in 2012 figuring it out. Now we're just going to be into the operation side and able to improve upon it even more so. Obviously the tent for the groups and things like that is going to add. And obviously I feel very good about the membership component. We've got a high renewal rate out of our 72 golfers. I think you've gotten commitments from 55 of them already on the golf side to rejoin, which are the full, not the juniors. That's very good, very positive. And your feedback on the pool and tennis side has been very positive. So I feel good about that. On the golf course maintenance program, our Fert and Chemical program, it's now science. As we've had a season. We understand the golf course much better. We understand how the turf's going to react because it's all about soil structure. So when you go look at a golf course and you can walk on it and look at it, you can do soil samples. But until you go through a season and you understand that side of the fairway always dries out more than this, and it's daylight, and it's wind, and it's all these things. I think then you've got a much better handle in terms of going through 2013, what we need to do. Our aeration schedule set, nematode control, we're, I guess, we're proactive about that in a situation we really was a little bit of a surprise in 2012, but we're on top of it. And I talked about the irrigation system. On the capital side, capital needs in 2013, we don't have any big, we say, look, we can go operate a golf course, it's going to be in good condition. We've got a very nice golf shop, and we feel solid about that. Obviously, the clubhouse is another issue to discuss another day in terms of how we address that, but we feel really, really good about how we're positioned going into 2013 to operate golf. So in summary, I'll say this, I think we're on the right track. Between Jason and Dennis here, you've got two of our best from a superintendent and general manager standpoint. And between Ryan and Matt Fauerbach, and I believe you've met with Rob Higby, our regional marketing director, you've got a very strong regional team. So I'm very proud of what we've done to date. I know we haven't hit our original target or budget, but feel good about where we're going and feel good about 2013. So,
Okay. Any questions or comments?
What about the food service for 2013? Is there any changes, any plans?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to start small, again, similar to what we did last year, just until we start to build the volume again. One of the things that I talked about in previous meetings is a survey of the members that I did personally, in which I reached out to every member, asked for their membership for 2013, and then said, what can I do to improve? Food and beverage was probably the most overwhelming topic, and what we're doing to address that is, we're going to offer a dinner service now, Thursday through Sunday, at a minimal cost. We are going to improve our service level at the pool by bringing service to the customer rather than having them walk up to the counter, and that's also going to help us minimize our cost. We're essentially going to eliminate a cook, work all out of one kitchen, but still improve the service level. So from that standpoint, we're doing that. Every single food that we prepare this year is going to be a fresh product, fresh made burgers, fresh made sandwiches, everything in that standpoint. So I think food and beverage, while we're not making any major changes, it's going to be much improved.
Okay. When do you project for opening day?
Well, depending on what happens tonight, if we don't get a ton of snow, worst case scenario, I would say by next weekend we'll be open, because we are supposed to have some nice days, and we are actually very close out there right now. We'll just have to see what happens with this weather. As far as the clubhouse food and beverage side, probably April.
April 1, okay. All right, any other comments or questions?
Just a question about the April 6th open house. Will you, certainly your presence here tonight helps publicize that, but will you be doing more to publicize that for residents?
Yeah, and there's going to be multiple events throughout the year, open house events. But yeah, we've got e-blast going out. We have, we're going to use the Woodbridge Events magazine, and we've got a lot of ideas.
You have frontage on some of the food streets, maybe put a sandwich board in.
And I assume you're going to put it on the town website? Okay.
We're going to, now that I have the right contact, we're going to put it
Great.
on the town website.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Drive carefully. Not tonight.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is Massaro Farm update, and Jason Morrow is here.
And I have a hand extra.
That one with the dog and the snake. Did it work out?
I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Too bad.
Thank you. Yeah, of course, I'll be back. I guess after listening to the golf course, I realized how close golfing is to farming this time.
There you go.
Weather and soil, and we gotta make sure it's all in balance. I'm giving you one of my last updates as president of the organization. I'm gonna squeeze in one more in April, I think. But I just wanted to stop in tonight and give you a quick rundown of some of the highlights of the farm. It's been a while since I've been before you. Our outreach and partnership coordinator, Katie Poole. We hired her mid-year last year. She's actually, I think on the last page of our annual report here, she was actually one of the reasons we have an annual report this year. She's a fantastic, talented asset to the farm, and we've been able to bring her on full-time, which is a real milestone for us. Up until now, it's been part-time and relying heavily upon volunteers as well to keep things rolling full-time. So with her full-time, she is transitioning to also be the main point of contact for the farm as well. She most recently helped update the website. If you've been to the website, it's got a whole new look to it. It's brighter, it's fresher, and she's added a calendar of events up on the website to let everybody know what's going on. So you'll see a lot more of Katie in 2013. The CSA, once again, I'm going to make sure you know it is a USDA certified organic farm now. The subscriptions, we've sold about 50% of the subscriptions for 2013, which is on track for selling out. It's a little ahead of where we were last year, so we're very pleased with how that's progressing. This year, it's a single season of 20 weeks instead of a summer season and a fall season. We decided to combine it. It makes administrating the whole operation a lot more streamlined. The 20-week season will run from roughly June through October, of course, weather dependent. If we have a really wet spring, obviously things might get pushed around a little bit. Last year we introduced a fruit option to the CSA, and we intend to include that again this year because it's very well received. So if you are a CSA subscriber and want to do fruit again, by all means. Renovations on the farm. The dairy barn. The interior part you don't see from the outside now has been renovated. We've got an office, fully ADA compliant bathroom, and a break room. So Farmer Steve is now going to be moving his office out of the house into a real office in the barn. And also in the barn, we will be opening the farm stand this year. We did a few trials in December, at the very end of the year last year, but 2013 is the opportunity for us to really improve the farm stand and make it a weekly happening for those that are not CSA subscribers to come up and purchase produce direct from the farm. And the hayloft is now safe, and we will use it for some small programs. Our educational programs will be ramping up very soon, starting just in 2 weeks with beekeeping, and a new program that we're offering in conjunction with the Ansonia Nature Center in some ways is the organic lawn care program. The town has committed itself to maintaining the grounds around the town organically, and we're trying to educate the community about it. So in conjunction with the beekeeping, we're going to have Saturdays with beekeeping and organic lawn care programs. You can find details on the programming calendar on the website, of course. But other activities that are going to happen, Prendergast and Mead schools in Ansonia, we're going to have them come to the farm this year. This is the first opportunity where classes will come to the farm from Ansonia. It'll happen several times in the spring and once again in the fall, so we're very excited to bring the schools to the farm. Our learning garden, we actually have programs happening in the learning garden, including workshops on CSA produce pickup days. So we have all kinds of new educational programs started up. Those are just a few. We also have our nature trail opened up. The grand opening was last year at our Celebrate Spring in May. And this year we're taking part in the Connecticut Trails Day. We actually are in the Roshore. We're going to have our walk on June 2nd at 1:30 in the afternoon. So it's a new adventure out into the forest. If you haven't been on the trail, it's kind of a neat little loop to go back where the cow paths used to be and then just to explore the nature back there. And our summer camp is returning. Last year we got a little late start on it, but this year we're on the ball. We're teaming up with the Woodbridge Rec, so we're getting out with all of their marketing blasts, and we hope to have a very full summer camp coming up in August. It's August 5th and August 12th. It's a week-long program each time. And lastly, I want to invite everybody to our annual meeting. It's this Sunday at 1:30, right next door here at the Congregational Church. It's the same place it's been for the last 3 years now. This is our 4th annual meeting, where I'll highlight more of these aspects, go a little bit deeper in details. Farmer Steve will get a farmer's report out to you, and we will have visits from some of the food donation recipients. We have speakers coming from the Columbus House in New Haven, as well as the Jewish Family Services as well. They are recipients of the food donations that we make, and it'll be good to hear how they use it, how it's being received, and what they really enjoy about the food that comes out. So I invite everybody to come to the annual meeting this Sunday. And one last bit of anecdotal information. I found that in February, we made some contacts with the local realtors, and they sold a house in Woodbridge. Someone came to Woodbridge, and they said the main reason that they chose Woodbridge was because of the Massaro farm. They found that the town had a certified organic CSA in town, and they wanted to be part of a town that supported that kind of environment. So just a little bit of good anecdotal news coming from. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. If not, I hope to see you at the annual meeting. Like I said, if not, you'll probably see me one more time at least for April.
Great.
Is it upstairs, downstairs, or
It's upstairs. It's if you face the church, it's
Yeah.
just to the.
is there an elevator or something?
No, it's first. Well, it's
It's only one floor.
all one floor.
Okay.
You go right in the front door
Yay.
into the big meeting.
Okay.
We'll
Yep.
just put you in a wheelbarrow at the end. We'll get you on in there, Beth, don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll get you in there, Beth.
I wanted to get in. Okay. Thank you so
Absolutely.
Well,
much.
thank you so much, Jason,
Thank
for
you.
your
Good,
report.
thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
I got a lot of work.
All right.
No, I don't worry about that.
So I guess we'll move on now to the Director of Finance and Operations report. And the first item on that agenda is your monthly report.
Yes. Okay, I have our monthly report for February of 2013, and it's a budgetary surplus of $235,000. And some highlights for you: the intergovernmental revenue continues to remain surplus of about $60,000, aside from the FEMA, which we'll get into in a little bit. Department revenue is about projecting close to budget. We've had a collective surplus of about $75,000 in transfer station fees and building permits and zoning permits. At the same time, we're projecting a shortfall of about $75,000 in golf revenue, so the two are pretty much even each other out. So department revenue as a whole should be right on the budget. Amity, as we discussed earlier, there's a surplus there of $85,000. Waste management is expected to experience a surplus of about $35,000, mainly due to reduced tonnage, which means we will be paying less to eliminate the debris. Concerning FEMA, we now have 2 storms that are in sort of some process. Hurricane Sandy, which is in the process of being submitted. The debris removal and public works has been submitted to FEMA, and so we are happy about that. The protective services is almost complete, and there's a few follow-up items that FEMA had questions on. Protective services is namely fire and police, so we're answering those questions and hope to submit that. I was hoping the end of this week. But all the departments have been very helpful in gathering the information. The fire department, police department, public works. And so we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, we have another storm, Nemo. And we met with FEMA on this storm, and we had to report 3 pieces of information. We had to report what our snow removal costs were for our biggest 48-hour period. We had to report what our total snow removal costs were, and then our total overall costs. So those are sort of the 3 costs that they're tracking. And what they have to do is put together a preliminary assessment, which then gets submitted to the federal government, and they determine whether or not we actually qualify for FEMA aid. That has not been determined yet. If that we do qualify, currently the time period was your highest 48-hour period. They're looking to see if they can, if that's what it's going to be, or if it's going to be 72 hours, or because some of the other cities have had a longer time cleaning up than others. So we await further information on this and what reimbursement percentage, if any, will be the town will receive.
Yeah, I think I read something in here that it's 30 days, and then it's Tuesday, I think, next week.
Right. Yeah, we're hoping next week we should hear some information. So we'll keep you updated. But we hopefully by your next meeting I'll have some firm information on exactly how much we're getting from Hurricane Sandy, and possibly some transfers to some departments to cover some of those expenses. As you know, there are several line items, including overtime, police, public works, fire department, that will require some transfers, and I hope to do those next month when we get a firm commitment from FEMA on exactly how much we're getting. So then I can use that as a receivable on our books, meaning that we're going to be getting the money at some point, and then we will do those transfers. Okay.
Any questions? Okay, the next item is our our tax refunds, and you have a memo from Pat Crisco, our tax collector, showing total showing real estate refunds totaling $4,972.12, motor vehicle refunds totaling $3,643.30, for total refunds for February $8,615.42. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those tax refunds.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next are funding requests. The first of which is number 1213-18, $9,500.
And I actually have a suggestion on this. Instead of contingency, we actually received some funds in our miscellaneous revenue category from a number of sources, including repayment of the fire marshal, which was paid in full. So that's an area where we have some funds, and so to the extent we do not use some contingency money for this, that is an option for you. If you'd like to change the source, the from account to a miscellaneous revenue line, we can do that.
And that's your recommendation?
That is my recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to approve funding request number 1213-18 in the amount of $9,500 to be funded through miscellaneous funds.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is elderly and disabled demand responsive transportation grant, authorized to assign to Greater New Haven Transit District for Regional Rides Program.
That was handed out this evening.
So what is this now?
I don't think we have that.
Okay, it was in, I have
Got
it.
it.
Well, my
Yeah,
copy I'll share with
I know most of it,
somebody.
yeah.
I have it. Okay.
Essentially, we do this every year, and we assign our grant that we receive to the Regional Rides Program, as opposed to using it ourselves. And that's the motion.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to authorize the Board of Selectmen to assign to the Greater New Haven Transit District for Regional Rides Program.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just as I understand it, if the town chose not to turn over this grant, it would be cut loose altogether from the Greater New Haven. It would be on its own, so.
Yeah, we're participating in the Greater New Haven Transit
right.
Program.
Correct, that's correct,
By
right.
transferring this
So
grant.
we get the
Right.
grant, we're turning it over to them, they get the vehicle.
They get this, we get the service.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
We've been doing this, you said?
For a number of years, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is a bid waiver for police vehicles.
This was, these are vehicles that are in the that were budgeted the current year, and the police department is requesting to purchase the 2 vehicles off the state bid list, which we do every year. And you'll see it's indicated in the memo you have the types of vehicles, which are the 2013 Ford Police Interceptor Utility, 4-door all-wheel drive, and a 2013 Police Interceptor SUV. And it's got the pricing there. I know the deputy chief described some of this at the budget meeting about the switch over in the types of
At
vehicles.
some length, as I recall.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So is this an assigned vehicle?
These are, the Interceptor is the one replacing the Crown Victoria.
Correct, placing the Crown Victoria, right.
Is that what you asked? I'm sorry.
Well, I just didn't know, I mean, do the officers take the vehicles home with them at night?
No,
No?
no, there's.
So it's an assigned vehicle, it's not an assigned vehicle that's traveling outside the town of Woodbridge?
No.
No, they're parked down here.
And these purchases were part of the plan for the year.
Correct, yes,
And they're off the bid list, just at the state bid.
correct.
This is all just a bid waiver, so we don't have to go out to bid because we're going to
Because the state goes out to bid for you, so you don't have to go through the process.
And we get the best price.
Right. We
Okay.
would check to make sure.
Right.
So I entertain a motion to approve a bid waiver for the vehicles described by the deputy chief in his March 1, 2013 memo.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is Governor Malloy's budget letter. I think this is for,
Just an FYI for your information, right?
this is all, of course, a fluid situation, subject to change, and I'm sure it will be changed.
Correct.
Next item on the agenda is a Woodbridge Child Center resolution for July 1, 2012 through June 30, 2013 lease.
Just to clarify this a little bit, we every year since we entered into this lease agreement with the Woodbridge Child Care Center, they've requested an extension of the term, which is in accordance with the lease, and we always have a resolution granting that extension. For some reason this year we did not go through that same process, and as you can see, the extended lease term started July 1st, 2012 and runs through June 30th, 2013. So we're a few months late, but the Woodbridge Child Care Center's attorney asked that we approve this resolution just for the record, so that's why it's in here.
They've been paying rent all.
They pay rent, they're
Rent,
very
yes.
good tenants,
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
And this is the last year
Right.
of their 4-year lease extension, so we're going to start negotiating a new term with them, which will begin July 1, 2013.
And the annual rent is $51,922 as shown in this resolution.
I was one of the
You were an
founding
originator,
families
I
of the
know that.
original
Oh, is that
Child
right?
Center.
You might have done the original lease, maybe.
It's very possible because I was
think you
general
did.
counsel for a long time.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution to extend the lease agreement as set forth in the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And Jerry, they have expressed interest in...
Stay, yes, absolutely. And we may talk about a longer period, so we don't have to do the extensions every year.
Okay, the next item is a FEMA letter re-expansion of the 48-hour disaster period. And that gives us for our information.
Right, yep, so you can see that they're 48 hours, which they'll increase, one will increase to 72. According to the fellow we met with FEMA, he said that they'll typically only do that under storms that are historic in nature. And I think everybody in the room thought that this one qualified.
I think they all been qualified.
So,
Crazy.
we'll see.
Okay, and then the next is a continuing disclosure submission.
This is just more of an information for you. Every year we have to, as part of our obligation of issuing long-term debt, it's called a continuing disclosure obligation, and we have to disclose information, all of which is in our financial, in our comprehensive annual financial report, and we're obligated to post that now electronically to a location where then all of the investors who are purchasing our debt can review our information. So it's just a requirement. I thought you'd find it interesting.
Trust you.
Okay, so that takes us to 7 o'clock, and on our agenda for 7 o'clock are public comments. Any members of the public here?
Hi, my name is Rosalie Rowland. I live at 102 Luciani Road. I watched the television Monday night for the Town Planning and Zoning meeting, and I was appalled as how the chairman of this board and committee members did not seem to listen to this lady Sheila, who lives on Shady Lane. All she seemed to want was that the board include their minutes that they had agreed, the residents of Shady Lane, with Ezra Academy, and the chairperson was uncooperative, and this lady became very upset, and I felt really bad for her at the time. Then Marilyn Klotzkin came up and to voice her concerns. By the way, she never even got a chance to voice her concerns. The chairman, as you can see by the tape, which I'm hopefully you've all watched the tape or will watch the tape, was very rude and disrespectful to her. His tone and words were very unbecoming of a person who is the chair of a committee in this town. Is this how you want your committee members to run their meetings in Woodbridge? I wonder would this attitude and disrespect and foul language be used if these were men? As elected officials, you know you do not act like this, and never, especially at a public meeting. You don't have to agree, but everyone deserves respect and to be listened to. If you do not remove him from the committee, you are sending a message to the women in Woodbridge that this can happen to them with disrespect. Please don't waste the taxpayers' money and think that if you send him to some class or something, everything will be okay. He made a big mistake, and he should have known better, just like all of you know. Please don't let politics get in the way, and please do the right thing and remove him from this committee as a chairperson and any other committee. Thank you.
Okay, any other members of the public have any public comments? If not, then we'll continue on with the Director of Finance report under other.
I do have an other, which I'd like to share with you. I felt it was appropriate at this time, there you go, to share with you the expenditures and revenues that have been incurred by the country club since we acquired the property. There's been a lot of, at least of me, questions of exactly what has been spent, and so I thought I'd share that with you so that you can see different types of expenditures and revenues that we've collected, and just get an understanding of where we are. So basically, if you look at the third sheet, there's a write-up on each category, which explains each category, but I wanted to sort of go over the actual information with you. The revenues are basically broken down into course lease revenue, which is basically the lease revenue we received from MDM Golf. Does not include the current payment in dispute. That's what we've actually received. And we get some, since we acquired the property, anytime there's a new co-locator on the tower, we get revenue for that. And it's about $168 a month. So you'll see that there's $3,100 there. And so then if you add to that the no proceeds and the revenue that we've collected so far through the Billy Casper operation. It's been about $9.2 million. In terms of expenditures, we have a number that I wanted to share with you. You'll see there are the purchasing of the property and the borrowing costs, which totals $327,000. There's the environmental related costs, which is the phases 1, 2, and 3, and that is a $235,000 expense. And then there's professional services, of which you'll probably all recognize. There's legal fees, which is entirely from outside counsel on that. And there is the course care from the beginning when before we acquired the property. If you remember, we had to do some course care there. And then there's some other items. And there's some maintenance costs there, which we've also gone over in the past, of a little over $200,000. And finally, there's some capital costs: the kitchen roof, the cement pad, and the irrigation pumps. And the last category is the expenses through the operation of Billy Casper. So that's about $10 million. So you'll see there's a difference there of about $800,000 of expenses over revenues. However, if you subtract from that the lease payment that is in dispute for $150,000, really the net there is about $650,000 of expenditures over revenues. And I wanted to highlight for you some of the expenses that are not really golf related, but rather expenses that came with carrying the property. And that
Once we decided to buy it,
Correct.
whether we have a golf course or not.
Correct. Whether we had a golf course there or not, or whether we did something entirely different with the property, we would have to pay the borrowing costs, which was $327,000, and the environmental costs, which once it was designated a transfer site, we had the obligation to investigate within 2 years of the identification, and then begin cleanup within 3 years. And so, regardless of what we did with the property, that would have been a cost that we had. And then if you add in some closing costs, those total just about $600,000. So really, it gives you a nice flavor for where the expenses have gone, and really there's only a $48,000 difference between those two. So just to clear that up, I don't know if there was any sort of misconception of exactly where we were financially with this property, but I just wanted to.
Tony, I think this is, if I just can say that this is a very helpful summary. So I think what this says, if I'm correct, is just so everyone understands that if we were going to buy 150 acres of open space, if the townspeople wanted to do this, regardless of whether there was a golf course there or not, just for the purpose of obtaining a significant piece of land in town that everyone concluded was critical and important, it would have cost us $600,000.
Correct.
So those costs really are not fairly included in the operation of the golf course. Those should be excluded. And if you exclude those costs, then for the full period of time we owned that golf course, we've lost $48,000. That's the interpretation of this.
Okay.
So it's operational cost versus land acquisition cost.
Yeah,
I think is
it just gives you a snapshot of. I mean, you've seen a lot of these come through at one time or another through your approval process, but to have them all in one place, I think is helpful. And so, moving forward with with Billy Casper and their optimistic, view of moving forward, this, we anticipate will turn around and. At least it gives you an idea of what
You don't have that much to make up anymore. You have the $48,000, then you're even.
And this includes everything, every penny that I've identified that we associated with this.
So this is different than the 70, what was the number we were given at last meeting, 70?
Right.
Well, in tonight's
75,000.
75,000.
Yeah, correct. That's in here because it's projected through June 30.
Now, there's a reference in here to, as you know, we have a lawsuit pending against MDM Golf, and I just want to bring the members of the Board of Selectmen up to date. The parties in that litigation, being the town of Woodbridge and MDM Golf, have agreed through their counsel to mediate this dispute, and that there will be a mediation session on April 1st before Judge Silver in that regard, so I'll keep you up to date on how that turns out.
Judge Silver?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So just to be clear, the legal fees are, when you refer to outside counsel, that means somebody other than me.
Correct.
You're inside
Right.
counsel.
Inside, that's
counsel,
outside.
right.
Just
Yeah.
I'm envious, but it's outside counsel.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony, for
Yep.
putting this.
Yeah, I
this-
thought that would, you'd find that helpful.
It's
Yeah.
very helpful.
Any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Boy Scout Troop 63 request to use old firehouse grounds for flag retirement ceremony.
And that's in your handout this evening.
I'll make a motion to allow them to do that.
I'll
Do
second
they need a
it.
motion?
Yeah. And they want to use the area behind the old firehouse for the ceremonial fire to properly dispose of the flags.
And that was recommended by the fire chief.
Yes. So there's been a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the Personnel Committee report. And
Can I ask, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Can we put that on the website, that that's going to happen if anybody
Sure.
has?
It will be on the website.
Okay. Again, you know, we like that, get everybody to know about it.
And there'll be, also on the website will be the fact that there's going to be boxes at Town Hall, the library, and the center building
Wonderful.
to collect the flags.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Sorry.
okay, the next item is the Personnel Committee report. The Personnel Committee met this afternoon before our meeting here tonight, and we discussed the sexual harassment policy, and we will have that policy to submit to you at our next meeting. The next item on the agenda is the Town Council's report.
These are just two informational items. We've already talked about both of these issues. The FOI decision concerning the Conservation Commission was made final, I think last week or the week before, and you have a copy of the actual final decision in your packet. And the R&H Group LLC tax appeal judgment, you've already approved the settlement, and we've just got official notice that the court accepted the settlement, so that case is over. Now we only have two remaining tax appeal cases. We're working on settling one, and hopefully we'll be successful at a pretrial at the end of this month, and the other one is still in a preliminary stage. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
And the Conservation Commission, basically,
Yes.
was just file the reports, right?
There was no monetary penalty. FOI very rarely, unless there's a repeated long history of abuse and violations, they very rarely, in my experience, enter monetary orders. They basically want the act complied with in the future, so that's what they said.
Just
in this case.
complied.
Just complied, yes.
Well, can I just say something? When I read through this, I mean, the interesting paragraph here, and this is paragraph 12, it is concluded that the informal informational session held blah, 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 was a hearing or a proceeding. I mean, that's the,
It was a hearing, yes.
I mean, it's important that people understand that.
People have to
It's subject to all the rules of the Freedom of Information
Right.
Commission.
Right.
Okay. All right, the next item is our Town Clerk's report, which you have in your packet, and I'd entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of the Town Clerk's report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next are our minutes, and the minutes of our special meeting on February 26, 2013 are in our packet. I entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next are appointments, and there is a vacancy on the Economic Development Commission to June 30, 2013, to fill the position held by Diane Urbana, who recently resigned. And do we have a nomination?
We do. I'd like to nominate Ellen Eisenberg. As everyone knows, she's a store owner of the Red Barn of Woodbridge since 2007. She has, you can see from her CV that she has extensive marketing and business experience, and I think she will be an excellent addition to the Economic Development Commission.
Is there a second?
Second. Enthusiastically, I
Yeah.
bought these gloves there.
All
Buy
right.
all my gloves there.
Any other nominations? If not, any discussion?
Great nomination.
All those in
Real
favor
asset.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the first selectmen's report. And since our last meeting, I attended a meeting of the Economic Development Commission, along with, at which a number of residents from Woodbridge attended, and listened to a presentation by Professor Plattis of his draft report. And there were about 25 people in attendance. They received a number of comments from the audience, and some of those comments will be inserted into revisions into the report. And the Economic Development Commission will then meet and approve the final report, which will then be submitted to the Board of Selectmen, and Professor Plattis will be here to make that presentation, hopefully in April. On February 28th, there was a meeting called by Mary Ellen LaRocca for training for the staffers for our emergency shelter. And that training session is going to be held on April 11th, and the Red Cross will present that training session. And anyone who's interested in helping to staff the emergency shelter should contact either Mary Ellen LaRocca or Jerry Shaw here at the Town Hall to express their interest. There will be such a training session on April 11th. I recently had a telephone conversation with David Head, who was of the Department of Transportation, concerning the Route 15 Amity Road Litchfield Turnpike study. And he tells me that there will be a meeting either in late April or early May with residents of Woodbridge and New Haven, probably at the Town Hall here, to review a draft plan to be submitted to the DOT for comments from the public. So as soon as we get the definite date, we'll let you know and put that up on the website. Jill Schaefer, who's a resident of Woodbridge, has offered to organize Red Litter Day to coordinate our activities and to encourage residents to clean up the roadside in their neighborhoods. Red Litter Day will be on Earth Day, which is April 20th. And Mrs. Schaefer will be here at our April 10 meeting to give us a report and to tell us the activities that will be done in connection with that Red Litter Day.
It's very nice of her.
And she's very enthusiastic
Yeah,
about this. Yeah.
that's a good
So
thing.
she's going to contact a number of merchants, people in the past who have been involved in this, and I think she's going to do a good job. So, in the course of being the first selectman, I received an inquiry from a company in Florida who was interested in, who make film about communities of distinction. And Terry Bradshaw, somebody you may know, is a former football player and TV sports announcer, does the commentary. And so it's a 5-minute segment which will be shown on the Fox Business Network, a number of regional news networks, and Woodbridge has been selected for one of those communities of distinction. There's one contingency on this, though. In order for us to participate, it would require us to pay $24,800.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that. They want us to pay them.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to show business.
So I told them that I would have to take that up with the Board of
Yeah, you
Selectmen.
think?
Yeah.
And so they said, when is your next meeting? I said, well, it's March 6th. He said, well, we'll be calling you on March 7th. So I can anticipate the response, so I just want to bring that to your attention to make sure that we're all on the same wavelength, that we're really not interested in doing it.
We could kick in a book.
Well, it's a start. Yeah.
Well, it should be said that we are a community of distinction, but
Right.
we don't need to pay anyone to find that out. So I think that's where we need to go with
It's like
that.
those who's who in American
Exactly,
journals. You
right.
have to
Right.
pay to be in them,
Right.
and then you buy the journal,
Right.
and you're listed, but
And
Wants to do
everyone
that.
is invited to pay,
$500 for a
Right.
journal.
So-
no matter who you are.
Forget it.
So it's the consensus that, no, thank you.
Thank you, no,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, for 23.
Maybe. Okay.
Work it out for $1.
And then some things to put on your calendar. Opening day ceremonies for the Bethwood Baseball League will be on Saturday, April 27th at 10 a.m. at the Town Green. So you're all invited to attend. And you also have in your packet a letter from the Aquarian Water Company, which is sponsoring Aquarian Environmental Champion Awards Program, which is an opportunity for adults, high school students, nonprofits, and small and large businesses in Woodbridge to win recognition for outstanding volunteer efforts to protect or restore Connecticut's natural resources. The deadline for nominations is May 8th. And so if you're interested in that, if anyone who's watching is interested in making a nomination, you can contact Jerry Shaw for further information. We forwarded this on to the Amity High School as well, if any of the students there may be interested. So I believe that completes my report. And now it's well timed. Our administrative officer has returned from the Police Commission meeting, and we can have your report.
Yes, sir. We have a couple of items to cover tonight. I don't know how much John Dovis briefed you on, but I can tell you we have gas flowing right now in the library, in the big burners in the front of the center building. There will be gas for the police department very soon for their separate situation. And we have gas flowing as of last Tuesday in this building. So we're making significant progress as to the flowing of the gas. The principal thing that the first selectman wanted me to address was the microgrid, which we're working on. And I'm going to just highlight something that was in Friday's register, Friday the 22nd of April, it's 22nd of February. And the State Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, henceforth known as DEEP, will announce Tuesday which of the 36 proposals being considered for the pilot microgrid program in Connecticut are technically feasible. There were 36. We are one of the winners. We continue. The town of Woodbridge will cover an area that includes police and fire departments, town hall, and the Amity Regional High School. So that's the next thing. Now, with this is a graduated program that you fill out 10 questions in September on a 3-day notice, and that passes. Then you get a 25-question thing that you get about a week and a half to answer. We passed that. We've passed now the third one. It just gets more and more technical, and it gets more and more detailed. But it looks like we're doing reasonably well. We've had very good support from our friends at United Illuminating and very good support from some of the people at DEEP. And I think we're doing fine. As some of you may recall, the governor was here visiting Amity along with the chair of DEEP, Mr. Estes, Chairman Estes. They were here in either November or December, and they were very pleased with the fact that we had gas, and they made mention of the microgrid. So it certainly doesn't hurt to have people in the right places pulling your chain. Does anyone have any questions on the microgrid thing? Okay, then the last thing, which will be quick, Sandy Stein is chairing a renewal of the home energy and public buildings safety means of cutting down waste of heat and so forth by improving. We have a team of 2 engineering students at UNH who have been assigned to work on this. We have inventoried all of the buildings, finished with them last week. So that's another thing that's going along rather well. That's my reports.
Good. Okay. Tom?
Okay, the Amity Board of Ed's budget was posted up on their website, and currently we're looking at $44,763,387, which is a 2.64% increase. Right now it looks like Orange is up about 5.35%, Bethany is up 1.81%, and Woodbridge is up 5.79%. The Amity Board of Ed is meeting with the Orange Board of Finance tomorrow. With the snow and all the weather, they weren't able to meet, so they're meeting tomorrow night at 8 o'clock at Orange Town Hall to discuss the budget. Superintendent will be presenting that to them. And the calendar was set for next year, the first day of school being Tuesday, September 3rd, 2013, and the last day of school, hopefully, without snow days and other weather days, will be June 13th, 2014. There was a special meeting of the Finance Committee of the board and also the board to discuss among other things, but the big item was to discuss the possible bonding of a artificial field at the high school. And I think initially when this was first brought up by a number of parents of Amity students and some parents of former Amity students, they were going to fundraise for the field. And the board had approved and given sign-off to allowing them to fundraise for this because they need the approval of the board before they can go out and really actively fundraise. And this was, I think, sometime last year they got that approval, maybe 6 months ago got that approval. And the board got together and discussed, instead of having it fundraise, because I think the position or the belief of some of the members on the board was that they didn't want a few people, this one committee, deciding whether we were going to move forward with a field or not. So they decided that what they wanted to do was see what it would cost to bond, and they think that right now they could do it if the town so decided. So the Finance Committee of the board voted to recommend to the Board of Ed to go to the towns to see if they were interested in bonding for an artificial field, which would be where the football field is now. And that type of field would be for all the sports teams to play on. Currently, the only team that plays on that is the football team, and no other games at the high school can be played on at night because there are no lights on any of the other fields. So the artificial field would allow other teams to play at night, other teams to have their senior games in the evenings, where in the 8 years that I was a parent of a child at Amity, all the senior games would have to be played during the afternoon, and a lot of parents of seniors' parents couldn't get to those games because obviously if they were working they couldn't get to a 3 or 4 o'clock game, so it was difficult. And then also it's tough for scheduling, and there are discussions and opinions and studies on how it's safer to play on an artificial turf than it is to play on grass. So that the recommendation was made to the full board, and the full board voted to prepare prepare to put it to the towns to decide if the towns wanted to have an artificial field. So at the next board meeting, and I don't see it on the agenda for the next board meeting, I didn't see it. They were going to get more information on what it would cost, and I guess maybe they're planning on that to be at the meeting after the next meeting to discuss that. But I think they're looking at around $900,000 for a field, and so they're going to get more information on how much it would cost, who would be the build the field, and how it would impact the different sports during the year. So the board did vote in favor of putting it to the town. So it obviously would have to go out to a referendum, and all the towns would have to approve of it to get it to go through. But personal standpoint, I think it's long overdue, and of course my kids will never play on it, but going forward, I think it's an asset to any school.
When you
But
say
I mean,
all
the towns will have to decide.
Will have to approve it.
Well, it'll have to
It
be
could
approved in a
majority vote,
referendum.
But if
Yeah.
it could go down in one town,
Right.
okay.
Majority.
Right,
vote,
it'd be
okay.
majority, yeah, I'm
Not
sorry,
all-
but
no,
yeah.
I just was
It
wondering
needs to go to the towns, and
if
it would
was
be
a
just like a
special kind of
regular,
bond or
regular
something.
referendum like the
Gotcha.
others.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't know when they're gonna do it at this point, referendum-wise?
Well, I think there were a few questions, the board members had questions about how much it was gonna cost, and there were a couple other issues at how much it would cost for the referendum, and they said, so what they'll do is they'll put together whatever information they can get, come in with harder numbers.
Mhm.
And I don't see it on the next board meeting. They meet on March 11th is their next regular meeting, and I don't see that on here, so maybe they're planning to do it at the April meeting. But that's where they are right now.
Just as far as the Amity budget is concerned, Dr. Brady will be making a presentation to the Board of Finance on Thursday, March 21st, excuse me, March 21st here. So if you're interested, you can attend and listen to that. Thanks, Tom. Okay, Lawrence?
The Recreation Commission met on the, I forgot the date, the last Monday of February. But since the Board of Education had been pushed back because of the February break, I didn't go to the Recreation Commission meeting. My understanding is it was all pretty straightforward, and so there's nothing to report from that meeting. At the Board of Education meeting, I've identified 4 things that I think are important. First, well, at the time they were making final plans, but now this week, Beecher Road School students are engaged in the CMT testing, and there is some time given to CMT prep for the Beecher Road school students. Going forward, I think this is the second to last year the CMTs will be administered to Connecticut grade school students. They are moving to a new format that is all electronic and what I found very interesting, interactive, in that all the tests will be taken by computer first of all, and then as students work through the test, depending on how they are doing, the computer will make an adjustment and take them in a different direction. So it is interactive and immediately responsive to the student's performance. So that's that new testing protocol begins in a couple of years. Once again, Beecher Road School stands out because in late April of this year, the 3rd and 4th grade students at Beecher Road School will pilot this new all-electronic interactive testing protocol. And so Beecher Road School has been chosen as to be part of that pilot program. The board also discussed imminent plans for a school climate survey, which gauges among students, parents, faculty, and staff their sense of well-being, you might say, what the school climate provides for them in terms of a learning environment, and it is quite comprehensive. It is of note, I think, this year in the wake of the Newtown shootings and issues of student safety and school security. So that the results of that will be interesting, I guess, in that way. Going forward, as far as the request for technology funding, and we all might remember a presentation that was made last year, I guess, some second graders from Beecher Road School were here to demonstrate their use of the iPads. I think they were engaged, they collaborated to write a book, I guess, with the iPads. Anyway, the point of it is now familiarity and a working knowledge of these iPads is going to be extended with the investment the town will make in technology going forward. So it'll be expanded beyond the second graders. And then the last thing, just to piggyback on what Tom said, the school calendar was adopted for the 13-14 school year. The board felt squeezed at either end of the school year, squeezed by Orange, I guess, which is going to be undergoing some construction this summer, so there is a post-Labor Day start for the first time in some time. And then squeezed, as I understand it, by Amity in June because of testing and graduation and the rest. So so feeling squeezed at both ends. The February break for the next school year is reduced to just a long weekend. And that's what I have for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's almost 25 of 8. We have a public hearing scheduled for 7:30. So, in accordance with Section 4-5B1 of the Charter of the Town of Woodbridge, I now call this public hearing to order to receive comments regarding the following ordinances. 1, an amendment to Woodbridge Ordinance Section 382-8, rate calculation of credit for the elderly and the totally disabled homeowner program. And 2, an ordinance establishing the Country Club of Woodbridge Enterprise Fund. The legal notice was published in the New Haven Register on Friday, February 22, 2013. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I now ask our Town Council, Jerry Weiner, to explain the purpose of the proposed amendment to the elderly and totally disabled homeowner ordinance.
This is not changing the substance and the intent of this ordinance in any way at all. All it is doing is modifying the way the town used to fund the exemptions for qualified elderly to file in applications. In the past, at the end of the year, we discovered that there weren't as many applications from qualified individuals to meet the amount of money the town set aside in its budget every year. So this, and we had an ordinance that required us to have a percentage of our budget set aside every year. This changes that requirement from the percentage of a budget to a fixed amount, which Tony has indicated is a very fair, accurate representation of what the town has been spending on this program in the past. And it also allows for the tax assessor, Betsy Quist, who runs the program, who accepts the applications, who knows what the demand is out there, speaks to all the people, to come back to the Board of Selectmen if she feels that in any one given year we did not set aside enough money, and we would have the appropriate appropriations made to satisfy all the qualified individuals who will be applying for the program. So it just gets the number in line with what the actual practice has been, and we think it's an appropriate amendment to the ordinances. I don't know, Tony, did I leave anything out?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay, are there any members of the public who want to make comment on that proposed ordinance? Hearing none, Jerry, have we received any written comments?
No, sir, not as 4:30 today.
Okay. All right, number 2 is to explain the purpose of the proposed new ordinance establishing the Country Club of Woodbridge Enterprise Fund. And I'd ask our bond counsel, Joe Fossey, to explain the purpose of that ordinance.
The enterprise fund, or an enterprise fund, is an accounting, management, and budgetary process that separates the particular enterprise fund from the fiscal responsibility of the town. And it focuses the management of the enterprise fund, whatever it may happen to be, within the resources of the enterprise fund, and provides a motivation for the managers who are responsible for managing whatever facility it happens to be in a manner that avoids going to the town to ask for funding for the particular facility. Enterprise funds are used for a variety of facilities: sewer operations, water operations, golf courses, hockey rinks, baseball stadiums, and the like. So it's really a management tool, it's a financial tool, and it focuses the management to hopefully avoid the public need to cross the boundary and go to a town and ask for funding for whatever the enterprise fund happens to fund. So this ordinance is intended to implement those goals through focusing the management and the resources just amongst the golf course.
And you mentioned that some towns have adopted an enterprise fund for a golf course. And can you just mention a few of those that you may recall?
Trumbull has done that, and Norwich has done that. Manchester also does it, although it's a little bit different in Manchester because they have a 501c3 entity, I believe, that actually operates the golf course. Norwich is actually pretty interesting. They have 3 enterprise funds. They have one for a golf course, one for a hockey facility, and one for a baseball stadium. Separate enterprise funds, separate ordinances for each facility.
So I guess maybe I was confused about what this was supposed to do. Is this taking away any type of control from this board over the golf course? And does it allow the golf course, golf committee authority to bond or to expend money beyond what would be allowed to be expended under the town charter?
The golf course authority has been created by ordinance. There is a golf course
Commission.
That commission operates the golf course but reports to the Board of Selectmen. That doesn't change. The golf course commission does not have any authority to issue debt. What this ordinance does do is retain all of the revenue from the operation of the golf course within the enterprise fund, and all of the expenses are to be made from the enterprise fund to support the golf course. That doesn't mean that you couldn't, as part of the budget or a supplementary appropriation, have the town appropriate more money if it were needed. But the concept is that when there's an enterprise fund, that's not the preferred course for those who are operating the enterprise fund to have to do, because the stated goal in the ordinance is self-sufficiency. So going to the town is essentially a bit embarrassing.
Right, so I understand, I mean, I read through it, and the way I understood it was basically that the enterprise fund would consolidate all of the funds that were expended by the golf course for the operation of the golf course, and any profits that were made, hopefully sometime within the next number of years, that they'd be able to roll over their profits, and it would be kind of a self-sustaining type of a fund. But what I found troubling was that you had said that it allows the enterprise fund to expend funds without going to the town, and I think that that's not something I really think wasn't what I thought the intent was. That now it seems as though we're giving authority for certain expenditures that would typically have to go to the town or be approved by this board to a commission, to the commission that was appointed to run the golf course, which was never the intent of this board that I'm aware of, was a power to be given to the commission. I think we had initially talked about coming up with golf, what was it called? Golf Authority. And that was, I guess, a state setup.
State statute.
Right.
State statute
So
will give that authority certain powers, right?
Right. So
we didn't do that.
So it was clear that we didn't want those powers to be given
Correct.
to the golf authority, but now it sounds like we're going down that same road and giving the golf commission.
No.
I'm just saying,
Why don't you respond?
Susan, what he had said was allowing the fund to, I don't remember what the word you said was, but basically go to the, expend funds without going to the town. That was kind of what you said. So I don't think that's something that we ever intended for the commission to be able to do. And if the fund is the commission, which I'm assuming it would be, then I'm not comfortable giving that authority. But maybe I misunderstood what you were saying.
Well, let me be more clear. The process that you have in place, which is the commission and the selectmen overseeing expenditures, does not change.
Right. We have an ordinance that controls how the golf commission can act. They're every decision that they make in the ordinance requires them to come back to the commission. This doesn't change. Yeah, to the board of selectmen. This doesn't change that. The ordinance is still operative, and the ordinance says that the board of selectmen must approve the budgets, must approve any expenses. So the enterprise zone is merely a way to fiscally operate the golf course as opposed to have any power in terms of decisions affecting the golf course.
Okay, that's kind of how I read it, but then the way you stated it was, I guess, not how I understood it. So if the enterprise fund, and I guess is this the whole entirety of fund?
That's the proposed ordinance right there. That you have
So
in front of you.
this ordinance doesn't overlay the golf commission ordinance, and nothing within this ordinance changes any of the reporting responsibilities of the commission to the Board of Selectmen, so the commission won't be spending money that they typically would have to come before the town to spend or come to the Board of Selectmen to spend. All of those things stay the way they are currently.
Their budget is approved in the ordinary process by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. But this becomes a separate vehicle so you can see how they're operating. All their income and all their expenses are in this one fund. And hopefully it's going to be self-sustaining,
Including debt service.
including debt service.
So currently you basically oversee the whole budgetary process with the, is that going to change?
No.
Will that be
No.
handed over to the commission to run, or will that still fall under you?
Supposed to request a budget. Come through.
The commission's relationship to the Board of Selectmen is merely advisory. They just advise us on what to do.
Correct.
We are the ones that take any action, setting the fees, any expenditures.
Correct, right.
Any hiring they do, we approve all of that.
So that will not change
That
with
won't
this
change.
ordinance? It's more of a reporting, accounting?
Right, it's a fiscal separation.
It's the way the money is handled. It goes through the enterprise zone rather than going through the town.
Fun.
The enterprise fund rather than going through the town.
So we still maintain all the fiscal controls of the golf course
Correct.
and the operation thereof.
Any other questions?
I think it's a terrific idea. My only question though is for you, does it make it easier for you to track the funds?
Yes.
Because you're basically, instead of everything being commingled in the
Correct.
general fund.
Everything is in this one fund.
Gotcha, that's what I would have
It
thought.
makes it a lot
And
easier.
allows the
for-
public to follow.
Right.
Right.
It makes it
That
easier
was
for
a
people
good
to
word,
follow it.
commingled.
Yeah,
it makes it
because
easier
right
for-
now, all this revenue and everything else is commingled with
Everything else.
Right.
everything
It's
else.
all in, correct.
So in a
So-
sense, it's more transparent.
Right.
Right. That's the idea.
It's a terrific idea.
Any other comments from the Board of Selectmen?
I was going to comment, but I thought I'd wait until after the public hearing.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public?
Chris Dickerson, 6 Metler Street. I had a question about how this is going to be reported in the town budget. Will the income and expenses for this enterprise fund be included in the entire town budget, or will it be looked at separately?
It'll be included in the budget document, only it's not part of the general fund now, because it's a separate enterprise fund, so it'll be reported, it actually says it in here, I believe, reported in the budget as an enterprise fund with all the complete information, only it won't be part of the general fund, which it currently is, which is a line in the, the department revenues and, expenditures, department. It'll be a separate fund, including, all expenses, including debt service will be in that fund. and all revenues will be in that fund.
So in the general fund right now, do we include our expenses for Amity?
Correct.
That's included in the general fund?
Correct.
So when we,
Amity, Beecher, all the departments, police, fire, all that's
is
general
all
fund.
included in the general fund?
Correct.
So when we present our budget to the town, our budget will be X number of dollars per year. This will be included in our town budget, or will it not?
It won't be included in the total general fund budget, which is what you're
Okay.
thinking of seeing when you see $42 million, 43, whatever. That's the general fund budget.
Yes.
This will be in the budget document, part of the budget hearing, reported on, questions through the process, only it's a separate fund apart from the general fund.
Okay. Now, the goal is to have this self-sustaining. Now, the country club was not self-sustaining in 2012, as far as I understand, correct?
Well, the fiscal year ends in
Fiscal 2012, no.
Okay. And is the projection that it's going to be self-sustaining to finish this fiscal year?
No.
Okay. So for the next fiscal year, if this enterprise fund is created, let's assume, as worst case, that it's not going to be self-sustaining. Where's the money going to come from?
What you do is in the general fund, you have a subsidy amount, which is then budgeted in the general fund as part of the tax rate, which would then be transferred into the enterprise fund. The goal is not to have to do that, but that would be the transaction.
Do we have a 5-year capital plan for the country club?
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
So does that include repair of the building and the golf course?
It includes the golf course and some repairs to the building. But,
And that's included in their budget projections?
correct. Yeah. It'll be in the budget document for the public hearing. You'll be able to see all that information.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who have any comments? Has the clerk received any written comments?
No, I have not, as of 4:30 today.
Okay. All right, I now declare the public hearing closed. And we can go on to the next item on the agenda is Board of Selectmen action on matters heard in public hearing. And to get these matters up for discussion, I'd entertain a motion to approve an amendment to Woodbridge Ordinance Section 382-8 rate, calculation of credit for the elderly and the totally disabled homeowner program.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, I'd entertain a motion to approve an ordinance establishing the Country Club of Woodbridge Enterprise Fund.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Great idea.
What I wanted to say is that I think this moves the town toward what we all have been seeking in terms of isolating and gauging where we are on a year-to-year basis and where we're going with this project. To Chris's point, I think if there is I forget the word you used already, subsidy, we'll see that as part of each budget, each proposed budget, and we'll have this isolated way of gauging how the town is doing with this project, and it would help shape the town's plans for that property. I think it's the way bond counsel described it. I think it sounds like a very useful tool.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And then these two ordinances will be published and they'll become effective 30 days from publication, is it? All right, so then continuing on with our liaison reports, Susan?
There was a library meeting last week. It had been delayed because of the blizzard. There was a robust discussion about the ongoing steps that libraries across the country are taking regarding resolution of the price fixing issue associated with ebooks. on the shorter term, Woodbridge does in fact offer ebooks now. And in the next year or so, you can expect, or maybe 2 years, you can expect that ebook, those offerings will expand quite a bit. That's all sort of in the works. There was also an interesting discussion about the fact that, as you know, Woodbridge is part of what's called the Lion Consortia, and that's the whole library consortia that we're part of. Bethany now wants to join the consortia, and it's interesting because evidently their library is somewhat private. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So I don't claim to have my fingers on the pulse of that, but as Todd, our library director, tells us, it's a great deal has to be resolved before they can even get there. So, but it's possible. Now, the reason it's interesting for us is that if Bethany is part of that consortia, it impacts the number of people it will reduce the number of people who then come into Woodbridge and use our facilities. And as you know, Woodbridge is one of the top libraries in the area in terms of bodies in and out of the room. So it's not nothing. That discussion is going to keep going. Friends of the Library had their Super Bowl Family Fun Day at Evan. It was a huge success. And the Library Commission asked me to come back to the town, and I said it wasn't a done deal yet because the budget has not been passed, but they were grateful that the placeholder for the HVAC system is in the budget as something so that we're all paying attention to the problem and giving it its due weight. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. Beth?
Thanks. I did attend the Board of Fire Commissioners meeting last Wednesday, February 27th, and it had been postponed, I think, 3 times. It was just so hard with the storms and everything for everyone to get together. So it was on a Wednesday for that reason, but they did have the meeting. And following executive session, the commission voted unanimously to hire Joseph Capucci of 9 Guernsey Lane, Wallingford, as the new Woodbridge Fire Marshal at 28 hours a week beginning March 18th. And in the meantime, he'll be working 5 to 10 hours a week just to get up and running. And beginning the week of March 4th, so that's already started. The hourly rate of $27.85 per hour, and the motion was, as I said, carried unanimously. And just to start off, for the first 3 months, he will be supervised or aided by Fire Chief Rowland to get him used to the system, the I forget what it's called, Firehouse software, whatever they use to document and record his inspections, and as well as Amy will be helping him. Pretty much the rest of the meeting they tried to get through it quickly. They skipped some of the items on the agenda because it was just time-wise. This went on for a long time. Chief Rowland did report on the progress of the tanker truck purchase, and he advised the commissioners of new issues with the bay floor. I hate to report that, but apparently, here we go again. They have a couple more bubbles in the floor. Maybe you know more about it than I do, but apparently just recently they found a couple of softball size bubbles in the floor. Let's see, they had Chief report on a lot of responses during the recent blizzard, and they wanted to report how successful the track kit was, so thank you for that. There was a damaged hydrant at Center and Meeting House that has since been repaired. I guess this is a frequent flyer on the list. For some reason, wherever it's located, it always gets hit. So, and I guess I can report that they had their snowflake dance this past Saturday, and those who attended, it was a very, very nice event and a lot of fun, and good. I don't know how they did, but it was a fun evening. I couldn't make the Human Services Commission this past Monday because I had 2 other meetings and just had to decide which one, but I will be there again, and that's about all I have.
Great.
So, thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Almost back to speed, getting in and out of buildings.
You're doing great.
Hopefully next week this won't be a problem anymore.
Okay. Anything else? Any other on the agenda? If not, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.